following podcast may contain some adult language. You've been warned.
Welcome to Finding the Narrative, the Genesys RPG Podcast. This is a show dedicated to the Genesys role-playing system created by Fantasy Flight Games and produced by Edge Studios. A show in which we, your hosts, discuss all things Genesys from both the player's and a GM's perspective. I am Tony Fanning, and with me, as always, are my good friends and co-hosts, Chris Holmes and Stefan Dragonspawn. And Stefan, you are out in the deep woods of Canada on location. How you doing, buddy?
Yes, I am on location, risking my very life amongst the wilderness. Where wild moose and beavers and other stuff could ravage me.
I would hate to be ravaged by a beaver.
or even worse, one of those big strapping lumberjacks.
Hey,
that works all night and drinks all works all day and drinks all night.
There you go.
But I'm doing good. We've got a new puppy, so we're busy house training Imp, and they're doing well with the older dog. So just a few little accidents, but we're doing well.
Excellent.
How are you? Yeah, how are you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. Yeah, your puppy's cute. My puppy's already an appetizer size for your puppy already. So
pretty much.
I'm doing good. I am recovering from Cabin Con 2020, A Plague of Gaming. That was renamed to Cabin Con 2020, A Plague of Fumbling, because we decided this year to do shots when somebody fumbles, and guess who won? Yes, I did.
The birthday boy.
Brent and I, my buddy Brent, who ran Torg Eternity, which, by the way, pretty freaking awesome. That was my favorite game we played this weekend, by the way. That was pretty fun. Him and I, we had like four or five like fumbles on Friday, and I had like 8 on Saturday. So fuck.
No, Torg is a great setting. I played the original version from the 90s. So
yeah, we played the Invasion of New York City. I played this little cop, this New York police officer. It was pretty fun. And I ran Legend of the Five Rings for them. So if they're listening to it, young. So I was trying to, because I turned 50 a few days ago, and that was my excuse. I can't remember your characters' names. So I was looking up and because they played the beginner box, so they were going through the events, and I had the judges talking to them. It was like young Shinjo. So I like paused for a moment, and that was cracking them up. We had fun.
That's
the important.
Anyways, all right, Tony, you're cracking up. What's up? How you doing?
Oh, I'm just loving every minute of it, man. I've been working, been hanging out with the wife a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've had a good couple of weeks here. Getting ready for company coming this weekend. We got my other stepson coming into town to visit, so that'll be fun.
Awesome sauce. That is good.
We are digging into tonight a huge topic, so we should probably get going. We've got a show title. We are doing episode 63, Arts and Embercrafts.
Nice. Like the title. That's great. Arts and Crafts. Arts and Embercrafts. Well done, buddy.
Yep.
Episode 63. Good Lord.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to 69.
We got to do
Beat to it, Stefan.
We got to figure out what that one is, and got to have a special.
I think it's actually going to be Stefan's actual play.
Oh,
believe it or not.
May have to put an extra special adult warning in front.
Yes.
If you are easily offended by,
Well, if our listeners aren't used to my kind of humor by now, well,
then fuck them. Right?
You get what you pay for.
Exactly.
It's not a dick in the ass. It's only your ears, okay?
Yeah, that's it. What'd you say? Huh?
What?
It's only gay if you smile or if you push back.
Right. Well, I mean, wow. Well then, woo. I was going to say something else, but damn.
You're slow on the uptake. That's great. I love it.
That was just a quote directly from our one-eyed Cyclops, Jamie. So.
I love that guy. All right, let's go and boost the signal.
All right. Well, hey, welcome to Boosting the Signal, where Stefan shares all the hot and steamy Genesys news fresh off the wire, or reviews a project from the Foundry. So, Stefan, you mentioned you're already hot. Now you're hot and bothered.
Yep.
All right. What you got for us?
All right. I was able to peruse the Foundry on DriveThruRPG recently and found a few things that just came out. The first thing is called The Gunlocker by Lee Ironside. I like that last name, like the actor Michael Ironside.
Nice.
So he gives us, from the Android setting, over 60 firearms. Their stats all collected in one document.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah,
That's cool.
So slug throwers, energy pistols, stun guns, whatever. You can get all of that in one book.
Cool.
For $4.99 US.
Get your
And
gun foo on.
Ammo not included? Ammo's not included in that, is it, Lee?
no, ammo's always extra. So.
All right.
And then our recent guest and the guy who just keeps pumping out products for Realms of Tyranoth, Chris Markham, offers us Sands of the Past, another amazing little product for the Al-Khalim area of the setting, which is a bit like kind of Arabian Nights, Middle Eastern flavored.
What, Chris has another product he put out? What?
Oh,
no,
yeah.
that's surprising.
Uh-huh.
Well done, buddy.
Yep. And this one, he leaves it up to you for the amount. It's pay what you want.
Awesome.
But I didn't have time to peruse the whole thing, but I'm sure that it was, like his other products, awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Every time someone says pay what you want, I say I'll buy that for $1.
Yeah,
There you go.
And then if I like it, I throw a few more.
Do you know how many pages were in that one?
No, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't looked at that yet, so. No, you don't have to. No, if you knew, that's great. If not, then what's next?
Oh. Next, and finally, for now, another product from the very prolific again, Mr. Markham.
What?
Tyranoth, Tyranoth Treasures Volume 3.
Oh, yeah.
But in this one, he focuses on rune-bound shards, which are, like he says, always highly coveted and sought-after items.
That's awesome.
I picked that up. That's a great supplement. It's not many of them, but there weren't many in the book, and any more of these that you can get your hands on make for great adventure.
Well,
That's it. For only $2, you get 15 more, and he's sort of
awesome.
Plucked the ideas from the different games that FFG came out that are based off of like Runebound or Descent. So he gets inspired by that and writes up the Genesys stats for them.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Check those out.
And any more of those things that you can read, and it can inspire you to create other ones too. So that's awesome.
Exactly. Yep.
I'm waiting for one of these days. Chris is going to come out with the Terranothia Encyclopedia, which would be like all 7,200 supplements he's done combined into one book.
In one special bundle. Yeah,
that's right. Door-to-door salesmen. All right, here's your bundle. You ordered your bundle of holding.
The entire Greyhaven library of Tyranoth.
Yeah. Fucking pallet. That
it would be Uncle Timoran's library.
Yes.
Yes.
He was my grandpapa.
So I've included the show note, the links in our show notes, and Chris, I think we'll make sure those links will be in our the notes for the podcast as well.
Absolutely. Well done.
That was my segment. I hope it helps boost the signal for these people. Put a few shiny credits or copper pieces or gold pieces in their purses or accounts.
Or ambits.
Or ambits, of course.
Foreshadowing.
So there you So there you go.
Mm-hmm. All right. Awesome. Well, all right, everybody. Well, hey, welcome to the Books of Genesis. Nice. I love it. All right. So this is where we're going to break down a section of one of the books. And today we are going to be breaking down Ember Crafting, that section in the Keyforge Secrets of the Crucible. Open up your book to page 163. Or PDF page 164, I think.
And you got to include the cover.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about Ember, and that's basically what makes the Keyforge setting unique onto its own, all on its own. So what do we want to talk about, guys?
Well, first and foremost, what is Ember?
Ember was a series of novels from Roger Zelazny, who's passed away.
That's Ember.
Right.
Gotcha. What is Ember?
Ember. Well, nobody knows, really.
It's a lot of things, apparently.
It is.
To a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, based on who you would talk to, probably the logos, they would say it's a power supply, or maybe it could be some sort of mystic, spiritual emblem or symbol where it came down from the gods, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think it's all-powerful who's-a-what's-its.
There you go. All-powerful who's-a-what's-its. I like that.
But there are several myths.
It's the ultimate MacGuffin.
You know it.
Yes. There are several myths, and the key takeaway from the sentence on myths and theories, or the paragraph, the thing I love most is there are as many theories about the nature of Ember as there are inhabitants of the Crucible, as the saying goes, and twice as many myths.
Yep. And you know what, Tony? Right next to that little, how we said there's a little scribble in the margins.
Yeah.
It is not just all you need. It is simply all. I mean, right? It's, as I've overheard this several times near the Inspired Temples in Q City. It's all. Anything.
Yeah. Many of the cultures worship it as a deity, almost, or pieces of a deity. Mm-hmm. The key thing is that it is vital to the economy and the ability to create things in the Keyforge setting.
Yep. And
I like the little. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Go, Stephen.
I like the little last paragraph on page 164, where it says, "Perhaps the only real truth about Ember is that no one knows for certain what it is or where it comes from, except, of course, the architects."
Yep.
Right. And the architects, if you read the warm and gooey bits at the beginning of the book, the architects are these ancient, all-powerful beings that created everything.
Yep.
And they created the Crucible.
I probably set the Crucible in motion, right? Pull things in. So yeah, well that's cool. So that's what Ember is. Nobody really knows what it is, but it is.
It can be anything the GM wants or the player wants.
Exactly.
At any given moment.
Exactly.
Now there's the next next little section here. We go into about harvesting it.
Yeah.
It's most commonly appears as golden color, yellow color. Less often one might find it as a slow-running stream or liquid. Now, it can take the form of a liquid, a plasma, a gas, a solid, crystals. It can take any form.
Yep.
In its raw state.
Mm-hmm. It can be found in living organisms too. Like I believe you said that there's a.
Like
this is
plants,
neat. Yeah, the huge grazier beasts can be. They can be shorn each migratory season as they devour their way through the mountains, and then they have this ember-infused wool supporting the high-end garments and such in the hub city, where
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. It's pretty cool.
And another kind of cool thing about it is that large-scale mining operations usually close down quickly because they exhaust the supply, and the supplies will appear elsewhere. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like it wants to remain elusive and obtainable by many.
Yep.
Almost like it has a will of its own.
Yep.
Yeah, instead of being monopolized by just one faction or group.
Yep. Yeah. So that's cool. I mean, you can mine an area of it or harvest some ember in one area and come back years later and it's propped up again. Come back and such. So it's pretty sweet.
And that, as a GM, that right there is a great little snippet to take. Think of all the cool places you can hide ember or caches of ember in any, I mean, like the basement of a bar, that kind of thing. Just all of a sudden an ember cache appeared there, or inside a farmer's barn, or all over the place. You can think of all these just obscure locations where you can have ember show up, and you can draw adventures around trying to get that.
Yep. Or protect it.
Maybe some rare, some weird tree got mutated and now it produces amber fruit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you pick the last one, wow, the tree dies. And
that's
or
right.
A goose that lays amber eggs.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes. That's right.
Take a gander at that.
I'm thinking near like a Wonka factory, a big candy factory, maybe,
right. Or a cloud up in the sky with a beanstalk that goes up to it, or something.
A beanstalk.
And people living in the shadow of it.
That's right.
Maybe that's where all those Oompa Loompas came from. I don't know
it. Dippity-doo, buddy. So we've harvested our ember. How do we use it? How would we use it?
So many uses for it.
Mm-hmm. So I mentioned one with power, right? You could power things.
It's also money. They turn it into embits, turn it into currency.
Yep. And that would be the refined, I guess, or manufactured ember, a use for it there. Yeah.
What else, Stefan?
Well, some beings actually consume it. They apply it, maybe on their skin or on surfaces of things, or otherwise use ember in arcane rituals to gain really weird magical-like abilities. Mm-hmm. Like they say here, much to the frustration of the researchers, because how are you doing that? Like, I don't know. Just do this and apply that and say a few words and there you go. I can fly.
You don't want to know what just went through my head.
Do we? Come on.
Burt Reynolds in Striptease rubbing himself with Vaseline, only it's ember goo.
Oh. So many years it took me to get that out of my head. Son of a bitch.
It's squishy in my boots.
Oh, if I wasn't bothered before, I am bothered now.
Yowzers. Oh, man.
The last major use it has is those archons out there that are trying to open the vaults.
Yep.
And get the secrets of the vaults. Each vault requires a number of keys to be made, and each key requires a amount of ember and certain types of ember sometimes to be crafted. Each key is unique, and each vault is unique in the amount of keys and style of keys that are required to open them. It's narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the little paragraph here, just talking about Vault Heads magazine, a favorite source of information concerning all things related to the vault battles. Tracks such statistics as the greatest number of keys needed to open a vault, longest battle durations, the fastest forging, most archons and followers involved in a battle. All of these things and more are recorded with near fanatical detail, supporting legions of dedicated fans and gamblers alike.
Oh, and gamblers are like, oh yeah, that's a whole new, that's a whole freaking campaign in its own.
That's it. Lots of Embers trading hands there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
So so next, how would we use it in Genesis? How do we use Ember in Genesis here?
There's a system for it, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
So, the key takeaway right away is that this is for Ember crafting. This is crafting.
Mm-hmm.
This is to create a permanent. What is it? Says the sentence here. One of the most potent uses of Embercraft is the creation of effects, permanent and unique Ember-based items or abilities the character can call upon. They're permanent. Once you make it, you have it forever.
That's right. That's right. And it's interesting. I
almost forever.
I like how they simplified how do you quantify Ember, right? It's basically 1 encumbrance, 2 encumbrance, 3 encumbrance. When you have a large chunk of Ember, it could be a big unrefined piece, or it could be like this bag of like sand, tiny granules of Ember as well.
Or it could be a canister of Ember gas.
There you go. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, a drum of amber oil.
There you go. That your character can jump in and get squishy in his boots when he goes on stage.
That's it.
A 6-pack of Ember Cola.
There you go. Nice.
Grease me up, woman.
Yep.
Refreshing amber cola. Low in calories, too.
Mm-hmm.
Ember is psychically reactive and changes properties according to the ways it is used, the intentions of its user, and other thoughts and emotions of those it's exposed to. Ember uses, as an Ember assumes properties according to its use, it loses potential for other applications. So the longer one holds on to it, the less likely it is to remain fresh.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
And it cannot be reused for any other purpose once it has one.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, once you make an effect, that effect is permanently part of that the Ember is, and you can't use it for anything else.
And then the last little bit in the quantifying Ember, I think, is important. So rules that refer to Ember, such as those that require its consumption, mean in its raw form.
Yeah.
Not that has already been used to process in the raw state. Abilities that detect Ember activate in the presence of Ember, such as an Ember Dowser talent, therefore only apply to Ember in its raw form. So you're really talking about raw Ember most of the time.
Right.
When you're quantifying it.
Yeah, because refined, it's either, once it's refined or processed, it's either, it's already part of like an item or an effect, or it's like an ambit, right? Made into currency or such.
And it describes those two forms in detail in the sidebar there on page 166.
Yeah, the two forms of Ember. Yep.
That's it. So you've got the raw Ember, which characters might discover. The solid rock, shining crystals. Yeah, it mentioned it earlier in another paragraph, but yeah, shining crystal, oozing gel, glistening powder, glowing liquid, or even concentrated gas.
Sweet.
So this
yeah,
is the only form
plenty of
Ember.
concentrated gas this weekend at Cabin Gun, I must tell you
I'm
that.
sure.
Windows were open. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and this is the only form of Ember that can be used to create and power effects, or consume to activate certain talents and empower some forms of weapons or armor. Then there's the other form, of course, processed. This represents Ember that is, in some manner, has been altered or changed, manufactured. So M-bits, like Chris mentioned, crystals that have now been part of a weapon or armor. So once it's been used, it's set.
Yep. And there's Ambred, which is processed ember, or these Helix tabs, which probably are the same thing as like the patches or something, I guess, right?
Like a slap patch or a healing potion or a painkiller.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right, but consuming ember, we skipped that over a little bit. What exactly does it mean to consume?
Well, it's either used up as fuel in maybe an item. Maybe you can eat it. Maybe to power up like a talent that you may have. Rub it on your body to make it all glistening, if you'd like. But its use is basically kind of up to the character. Maybe change per character. But they also said, so there's consuming ember, which is they have it in bold text here, so you'll see it throughout. And then also there's another way to consume ember. It's called depleting ember, like maybe a talent or an item. The ember is depleted from it. So if you do use an item or a talent or an ability, which means the ember is depleted, you must consume ember. And here there's the rule mechanically speaking of it. It doesn't say how much ember to consume to make the ability come back or not. Just assume it's one ember, unless otherwise specified. Like one, I guess.
Yeah, one encumbrance value.
Encumbrance value of ember, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then the very last line is key because it's not quantified anywhere else. Consuming ember requires a maneuver.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, good to call that out. So, alrighty then. So what do we have next?
We've got effects.
Affects.
We got effects. Boom.
That's right.
All right.
This is the nitty gritty of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, effects. What are they?
Well, they're powers that you would either put on a gadget, create like maybe a spell ability, maybe on a talisman. Maybe it's a blessing you give somebody. And when they use it, it might be done. Or maybe it might be permanent, where they may have to consume ember to recharge it, if you will. Or maybe it's recharged, the next day. Who knows?
Gotcha. Yep, it's a permanent effect or ability tied to the creator or someone they've given it to, essentially.
Yep.
Yeah, they mentioned a few different ways it can show up, as, for example, as various spells, gadgets, talismans, blessings, artifacts, all using the Embercraft skill to create these effects.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if it's a smoke-belching machine powered by an ember core or a mystical word that can bend reality. It's the same source of power.
Yeah. It just looks different, that's all.
Yep, it's all in the narrative.
Mm-hmm. Which we try to keep finding.
Well, we're getting there.
Yeah.
That's right.
One episode at a time.
Exactly.
So, here on page 167, it gets into it. Using effects. Effects are not quite items and not quite abilities, but they work in much the same way. How and when they are used depends on both the narrative and the game rules for that particular effect. Weapon effects primarily are used during combat checks. Armor effects reduce damage or modify an attacker's check. and utility effects are used as part of an activity and might or might not require a skill check. In addition, effect powers can have specific uses that might be different from the basic function of the effect, most often requiring a maneuver. And the next paragraph adds one key thing, and that is that any time a character makes a check using an effect, a despair from that check may be spent to deplete it.
Nice.
And then there's also lots of more ways to spend dice results from checks using effects on some charts at the end of this chapter.
Right. Yep. Whether it's during the skill you're using that is related to Ember, or specifically they have just a separate table for Embercraft checks as well when you're doing an Embercraft skill check. So
there's an important bold note down at the bottom here, Stefan. What is that?
That is very interesting too. It's important to note that an effect can never have hard points or take attachments, even if it functions like a weapon or a piece of armor.
Nice.
Or suit of armor.
Nice.
So you can't think of it as just an equipment and then add on more stuff, even if it does look like a sword or a pistol or.
Right.
So whatever it has, its powers, abilities, whatever, has to be built in at Embercraft creation.
Yep.
That's why when I say these things are permanent, I put up the air quotes because obviously these things are a narrative tool that can be used by the players and also can be manipulated by the GM to deplete them, to make them go away, so to speak. And it talks about that in the craft a what sidebar here.
Yeah.
Effects all have a component of some kind, whether it's a talisman, a grimoire, a magic word, a hand gesture, or some combination. Thus, characters wishing to activate an effect they possess should in some way use or evoke a component to activate it. This always means that players and the GM can incorporate the way the component is used into gameplay. For example, a character who forgets a transformational word or is suffering from a hand injury might be unable to use their magic, quote unquote, just as readily as a stolen ray gun would leave them unable to zap things. They could also be in a region where sound doesn't travel, or gravity is too intense to wave their arms. And sometimes, and this is a key note here down at the bottom of it, sometimes a character may want to give an effect they created to another character. And that was something you talked about, Chris. Mm-hmm. For someone other than its creator to use, it is the difficulty of it is left up to the GM's discretion and is primarily the function of the narrative description. For a particularly complex or potent effect, the GM may add setback dice to the checks another character makes with it. So that's a key use or key notation to for the addition of setback dice.
Right. All right.
Yeah, it can be easily imagined like if I want to lend my zap gun to Chris's character, that could be easy. But if he has some kind of mystical, construct or that's like a spell,
right, or talisman.
Allowing me to use it may be more difficult to transfer. It's like it was made really for him. It's not really attuned to me, whatever the reason.
Prime example: if you're two characters, the two characters you guys played last time when we did this, you had a Martian and you had a human.
Yeah.
The Martian technology might not work for the human very easily, or
no, exactly.
Can't wrap his brain around how to use it.
Well, that's it. Maybe because the symbols for the throttle and other things, are very different, and they're made for smaller hands.
That's right. It would totally not let you get into my little walker. Just
No.
just don't, or my little mini, what was it? The little mini flying saucer that I had.
Yeah.
Even if you could fit in it. No, wait.
No, I think Ace would have looked even more ridiculous in trying to sit in yours.
Exactly. Well, we've talked about using these effects.
Yeah, we've covered all the narrative stuff.
Yeah, we've covered all the narrative stuff. Let's get into creating an effect now.
Yeah.
So,
The nitty-gritty.
yeah.
It's done in 3 steps, right? Step 1,
you're halfway
steel
there.
underpants.
That's right.
I think there's about 6 of them.
There's about 6 of them. But there is one note that I had read just today too, and Tony, I think you just did as well, is that when you're creating an effect, it should kind of be made like maybe time between game sessions or a little bit of downtime, a longer period, more of a narrative gameplay instead of during like a structured encounter. Like it takes 2 rounds to make something. No, a little more than that.
Yeah.
So that was on 167, and then we got our 6 steps. What do we do first, Stefan? What's the first thing?
Well, first we have to come up with a concept.
Nice.
So determine what your effect would look like and what do you want it to do.
Cool.
This is the first step, and I find many players find this the hardest step.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's very,
Conceptualizing what they want.
well, the thing is, even I, when I reread this after we did the review of the whole book, as much as possible, I thought the effects it's not quite spellcasting. It's not quite crafting equipment or gear either, but it's kind of a mix of the two because there is no, spellcasting like Realms of Tyrnoth. You don't have wizards and clerics and druids.
Yeah.
You just have the Ember Crafter, Embermancer.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Right. So concept, yeah. What do you want? What does it look like? What does it do?
So each effect has a starting ember requirement or cost. This is a cost of 1 ember. This is in bold on page 168 in the concept section.
Mm-hmm.
This which will be adjusted up or down based on the options you select to add to it. Key is to have an idea what you want to do.
Yep.
And then don't overanalyze it. Have an idea of what you want to do. Then build from there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Cool.
Concept. Stefan, what have you got? Concept.
That was a concept. Can't be flat-footed there. Hey, ask Chris.
Ask Chris.
Ask me? Well, the concept that I have would be a I don't know, this bag about the size of my hand where I could just put all my ember in and not worry about how much it'll hold. I just throw it in there. As long as it fits through the hole, I just throw little pieces in there. It's like a bag. Right?
Okay.
That's my concept.
That's a concept. That works.
What about you, Tony? Do you have a concept?
Sure. I want to have a wheelchair that flies.
Sweet.
Sounds familiar.
That's right. Well, you're partially there. I mean, you are bald. So we're getting there. Right? All right. Well then, so
that's
so
it. That's how you do a concept, and you start with 1 ember, and then also in bold, no matter the final shape or form, its value of 1.
Gotcha.
So even my wheelchair would have an encumbrance value of 1.
Exactly. Yep. Just
Right.
easily. And
'Cause it's
that
floating.
bag that I have, encumbrance value of 1. That's it. So with that in mind, what's step 2 here, Tony?
Step 2, profit. No.
Sell the wheelchair.
Effect design. So with a strong concept in mind, the next step is to design the rules for your effect. So your design is going to take one of 3 forms. It's either going to be an armor, it's going to be a weapon, or in the case of both Chris's and my concept, it's going to be a utility item.
Mm-hmm.
Got one yet, Stefan?
I can see where yours could potentially be used as armor.
Could be.
Or maybe a weapon. Yeah, you can have like a ram right in front of it.
Nah, it's a utility. It just floats around.
It floats.
The man who rides in it is a weapon alone.
Yeah. It gives you fly speed, right? I mean, you can fly. You got something, Stefan?
Yeah, I came up with something. Doesn't have a physical body. It's more of a mental kind of construct that'll be worked out. And when it's summoned, or rather words are spoken, it will erect a force field around the person, protecting them from harm.
Sounds like an armor.
It sure does. Yeah. Well done. All right. So
what would one do with making an armor?
Well, you have to decide what the powers are, right? Are you throwing me the ball here and say step 3?
No. This is so we're still looking at the design. Into the actual nuts and bolts of designing an armor.
Oh, shoot, that's right. Yeah, gotcha. All right, yeah. So making armor, it's basically to protect your character, right?
Yep.
And then on table 4-1, armor characteristic changes. You could choose that will modify the basic characteristics for an armor. So the basic characteristics for an armor effect are 0 soak and 1 defense. So there's a cost that would increase those in this table. So you can increase your soak from a 0 to 3. That would be it would require 6 ember because it's plus 1 times the new value. So to go from 1 to 2, it would be 2 ember, and then to go from 0 to 1 is 1, and then to have 3 soak, it would be 3. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. Math.
That's 6 ember in addition to the original 1.
Correct.
Exactly.
Required.
Yep.
That's it. It's a bit like buying skills. So you have to pay for the next rank.
Yep.
Yes.
Pretty much.
On top of that, the second paragraph of the armors, it tells you can add any number of item qualities chosen from the item qualities table 4.3 on page 170, increasing the ember cost necessary to create your effect by the indicated amount. You can add item qualities whether or not you choose to increase the soak value or defense rating. So you can just have a 0 soak, 1 defense armor with a bunch of qualities.
Yeah. You can have it superior armor. And on this table, it costs you 1 ember to make it superior.
Yeah.
Vicious, plus 1 ember per rating. Yeah.
That's for a weapon.
That's for a weapon? That's for an item.
Some qualities. Yeah, but some of these qualities are generic.
Yeah.
May not be fully appropriate.
I have vicious armor.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm a battle rager, fuck yeah, I am. God damn it, I got spiky armor.
Is that an armor or a weapon?
It'd be a weapon. It'd be a weapon.
It'd be an R weapon?
It'd be an R weapon. Now, there is negative qualities. If you want that slow firing armor, it'll be like -2 per rating. -2.
No, they've got all of the ones for weapons and armor on one table. So you have to be a little smart about it. You have to understand which is an armor quality and which is not. And referring to the core Genesys rulebook for that will be a way to do that. All these qualities appear in the core Genesys core rulebook, and they all tell you whether it can be applied to an armor or a weapon.
Cool.
That's it. I mean, if you have an idea, like you have maybe the shield that I'm thinking of, or force field, might have the ensnare quality. When someone attacks it, they have a chance of being ensnared because it's sticky.
Yeah, that's cool.
If
your GM's cool with it.
Exactly.
Your GM is cool with it. If somebody, maybe it's one of those things, Stefan, where if you're, because part of this, you have to come up with the rules for these powers too. So maybe this force field that you're thinking of, in order for that ensnare quality to pop, if you will, the person who's attacking you has to be in melee range, right? It's got to be a melee attack.
Yeah.
Engage range, right? And they generate 2 threat. Boom.
Yeah.
And, would activate the ensnare quality. Kind of the reverse, if you will, right? So negative to them, positive for you, right? So
that's it. Instead of using advantages for a weapon.
Correct.
To activate it, so that would make sense.
That's a reasonable use, as long as it's not an attack. For instance, bringing up Vicious. Vicious requires that a critical be rolled.
Yep.
In order for it to be activated. Exactly. And it critical isn't rolled with an armor.
Exactly.
No.
So you can't have vicious armor. But
you might have. You could have knockdown though. So if they come in and they hit, boom, right? It might knock them. It might, if they generate enough, threat, it might knock them back, knock them down. Possible.
As a GM, you definitely want to approve those kinds of things that are different from the intended uses.
Yep.
Okay, weapons.
Yeah.
So the weapon effect includes all effects that characterize an attack, whether it be a spell, a noxious odor that came from your mouth,
or elsewhere,
or other orifice, a ray gun, or a big bad chainsaw sword. Either way, an effect, a weapon effect, follows simple rules as the very first thing you must do when designing it is you must decide what attack skill it's going to use. Whether it uses, it should use a combat skill or discipline if it's a mystical or psychic effect. But any skill other than Embercraft is a possibility. The skill should be narratively appropriate for the effect, and the GM has to approve your choice.
Yeah.
For example, if your design intends the effect's profile to have a range band greater than engaged, melee or brawn should not be selected as the employed skill. Right. It should be a ranged attack.
Yep.
And then it starts over on page 170 underneath the chart for item qualities. You have the starting damage. So once you've chosen what what skill it uses, it has a starting damage of +1.
Right.
Which is added to your character's chosen characteristic. And to determine the attack's base damage. Just as an ordinary melee weapon's damage is added to the user's brawn.
Right.
So
this
you're going to have to choose.
Yeah, you could have this weapon be linked to your presence, right?
Yep. So obviously you're going to choose your best one.
Obviously.
Yeah. If you have a high presence, because it's an aura of menace, where like Gandalf, who suddenly becomes really big and I am not here to rob you.
There you go.
I'm going to design a sword that looks like it's made of rubber, but it's super, super sharp, and it's going to go off my cunning.
There you go. Oh, he's just going to hit me with a freaking Nerf sword.
All right.
Pardon me.
You can improve the damage value by spending additional Ember, and that is covered on back on page 169 on chart 4.2 with the weapon characteristic changes.
Yep.
And then it has a beginning critical rating of 4. That means it requires 4 advantage to activate a critical with.
Yep.
Has a range. Whether the effect you have to choose whether the effect will be a melee or a ranged weapon. If it's a melee weapon, it has a range of engaged, and if it is a ranged effect, it has a range of short. And then that can be changed also.
Well, it can't. It said melee effects have a range of engage which cannot be increased.
Correct. Sorry, I meant the ranged ones can be.
Yeah, okay. That works. Because I would say like a long pole arm is still engaged range, right? It's not necessarily short range. Because once you're out at short range, you're throwing something at that point, which would be ranged. Yeah.
A whip could maybe be used at short range, but not necessarily engaged. So it would fall as a ranged weapon.
Yep. You just treat it like a ranged attack.
Exactly.
And that's for the creating of the items. You would just treat it as a ranged attack. You want it to use brawn because it's a whip. That totally makes sense.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right, and then you can add weapon characteristics from chart 4.3, increasing yet again the cost as you go.
Now you can use your vicious. Add your vicious, Chris.
Yes, the vicious whip.
My vicious, piercing, rubbery sword.
Oh, definitely.
Viciousness.
That has sunder. It could sunder shit, right? It's rubber.
Giving it breach.
Breach. Wow.
That's some hard rubber.
Oh, yeah, there is breach, isn't there?
Sharp-ass rubber.
Yeah, it is. Watch out.
Oh, it's not a sword. It's a chicken. It's a rubber chicken.
Oh,
it's a big rubber chicken.
Vorpal rubber Vorpal chicken. Two-handed, motherfucker.
Two-handed report.
No, versatile.
It's slow firing because when you hit someone with it, it's got to go, burk.
Nice. No, prepare. Isn't it like that? Prepare? Yeah, there you go. It'll be prepare. You have to prepare it.
Okay.
Yeah, or slow
you just
fire.
You just reminded me a couple of nights ago, real quick, a sidebar. I had a weird dream that seemed to be as if it was drawn out by the animators of Rick and Morty.
Oh, no.
All right.
Yeah, but it was a role-playing session. I was running a game, but it looked like a Rick and Morty cartoon. All the heroes were trying to attack this featherless, undead chicken, but they were always missing. And then it was the necromancer's turn. He managed to grab the chicken and made it like a 20-foot tall chicken. And
did you write this down? This sounds like a great adventure. I want to play it.
It sure could be. Uh-oh, maybe on our 69th episode. What?
Maybe.
I'm going to use my rubber chicken sword. I'm just saying.
I got to come up with something. maybe the powers for this bag, this dice bag that I've got will be might be going hand to hand with you there, Tony. So the next type, so the next type of item that you could put an effect on would be, well, a utility item that covers anything other than what we just talked about. If it's not an armor, if it's not protecting your character, if it's not doing damage to your enemies, then it's a utility function. This is the bucket that covers everything else, pretty much. Bit flexible, lot flexible here. You can add item qualities and powers to a utility, but just make sure it's appropriate, right, for the description of it. And typically during the power of using this utility item, it'll always, add a boost die to checks for those using it, if it's made for that person, right? Like we had said earlier, it may oppose a setback die, to somebody who it's not necessarily made for. And of course, it's like the right tool for the job, if you will, right?
Right. Well, sometimes the job in question might be something quite impressive or utterly fantastical, such as seeing a distant location, speaking with squirrels, or flying to another plane of existence. Another place. For such potent effects, you and your GM should consider whether it should have a power.
Yeah.
And if so, the effect may still fulfill its lesser related purpose without using its power. Of course, even an effect with a relatively simple function could also have a power allowing it to do something truly miraculous.
Right.
Such as an ordinary rope while an ordinary rope and a shimmering cord of flexible ember both allow a character to climb sheer surfaces, the ember cord might be capable of so much more. Give that Ember cord a power effect of tunnel, and you can use it to safely descend through a solid surface.
Nice.
Something that no mundane rope can duplicate.
That is right.
You can do so efficiently.
Whether or not a utility effect requires whether or not a utility effect requires a maneuver to ready for use depends on its descriptive form and function, and is something to which the player and the GM decide together.
Yeah, so that Ember cord or Ember rope, you'd probably spend a maneuver to kind of get it out and tie it to something before you use it. So,
powers, dude.
Yeah, this is cool.
So the key thing is the Ember cost to add a power is equal to the effect's new number of powers. For example, giving an effect a single power costs 1 Ember, while giving it a second power costs 2.
Another 2.
And for a total of 3, another 2.
Right.
And for a total of 3, for the 2 powers to be purchased.
Yep. So what do we have for powers here?
A whole bunch of good ones.
Yeah, we do.
Does someone want to read off the list?
I do, but first, hang on a minute. This is great. So, oh, no, this isn't the right one. But this is actually pretty funny. The sidebar here by Dodger. Mm-hmm. You see some bloke gathering up Ember. Just all serious, like, you better assume they're getting ready to unleash something powerful. Probably in your direction. So, yeah, run. That'd be great. Yeah, this first power. All right, the first power. I'll do this. Bane and Boon. Basically, it's going to be a particular effect against a specific type of living target. You know, when you use this effect, you can upgrade the ability of the check twice when you're attacking this creature.
Yeah,
so that's
target.
cool. Or the target. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a social check.
Could be. Yeah.
Never know.
Could be a microphone of Martian demoralization.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes.
When you sing into it, Martians go, ah!
And their heads explode.
Next one, broadcast. As a maneuver or part of an action, this effect your character may broadcast their voice over a large area up to strategic range.
What? Strategic range,
at a volume
Tony?
Sufficient. Strategic range is that range band after extreme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indirect fire.
At a volume sufficient to capture people's attention. So that microphone definitely should have this too.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What's next, Stefan?
And we got cleansing. And this one, the effect is to remove all poisons, toxins, and similar afflictions from themselves or their target.
Cool.
So that can be useful as for a general heal kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got that little caveat at the end that so basically that's for free. That's a free action or incidental.
Yeah, as part of an action, yeah.
But as part of an action, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, but if you use it as a maneuver, then this power targets one character within short range.
Nice. That's cool. That's cool. So the next one is dominate. So this is interesting. This is limiting once per encounter as maneuver. You can deplete this effect in order to gain control of a beast, automaton, or other non-sentient creature or machine with a silhouette no greater than your own, and that's within short range until the end of the encounter. And it says once per round in structured encounters, your character may spend one maneuver to direct the dominated target in performing one action and one maneuver during your character's turn. Sweet.
That's a neat effect.
That is.
Displacement. when a character makes a combat check targeting your character may, as an out-of-turn incidental, deplete this effect to upgrade the difficulty of the check twice. Your character may then spend 3 threat or 8 despair from the check to move himself up to 1 range band in any direction after the attack is resolved.
Nice.
So yeah. So some of these powers actually mention that the power will be depleted.
Yep.
So you have to it has to be recharged, or more amber has to be consumed. You don't have to spend a despair to deplete it. It's
Correct.
part of the effect.
Right. But here's a question for you. If your character has, say, this item on it, this displacement item on it, right? And you're making an Ember check, not with it, but with something else, and you roll a despair, would it be fair for the GM to deplete this displacement item?
If you're using another item?
No, if you're just making another Ember check, maybe it's related.
Well, if it's related, yeah, it's perfectly fair. If it's unrelated, it stretches the limits of the word fair.
Too fair?
Yeah. Too
Right.
fair-ish.
Double despair?
Or rain.
All your shit is depleted, I would say. Daryl, if you're listening. Double despair, Daryl.
Let's go on.
Yeah,
Got a lot of these.
Yeah, we do.
The next one is
Compare phrase
enhancer.
too, if we wanted.
Yeah, enhancer. So this one, when making a skill check with this effect, your character counts as having 1 additional rank in this skill, so it makes your character better. And if your character already has 5 ranks, you get a boost die instead. And then
that's
once per session,
That's interesting.
and then even once per session, your character can fail a check. Who fails a check using this Ember may deplete the effect to add success equal to their ranks of the skill they're using.
So you
And then
unfail.
yeah. If you and then the rest of the symbols can be used as normally.
Right. Well, that's cool.
Nice.
I do like, just to go back up to this, I don't know if I've seen this rule before. If your character already has 5 ranks in a skill use, add a boost die instead. So if you want to enhance yourself with like cybernetics and like another gaming system, right? Instead of increasing your, to go over that limit of your characteristic, you could just have a permanent boost die for it. That's interesting. Have you seen this before?
No,
That's kind of
the
cool.
first time.
Yeah,
That's a neat way to do it.
it is. It
To
is.
go beyond 5.
Yeah, or 6 or whatever you want.
Yep.
Okay, so the next one is find. So you could use this item, this effect, to find something. But, if the target doesn't want to be found, it would be an opposed Embercraft check versus the target's discipline or stealth. That's cool. So it says the process of this power generally takes too long to occur during structured gameplay. So you wouldn't necessarily have these goggles of finding on, and if somebody's sneaky up behind you, if somebody in the middle of combat just went into the darkness, you wouldn't be able to use it for that. However, it could give you boost dice or remove setback dice if you want to spot somebody in the dark or whatever.
Yeah.
But again, that's coming up with those rules for the powers. Again,
Right on.
It's cool. Right, what's next?
Next one's Flare. As a maneuver, you make a bright, psychic flash, blinding flash or psychic light. Disorients all enemies in medium range for 1 round and inflicts 1 strain on each of them.
This item will be suspenders with buttons on it. Oh, wait a second.
Shiny buttons.
With my 12 pieces of flare. All right.
What's next?
I don't remember what the next one is.
I don't know. I kind of forget.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah. Oh, we're there. See, for us over 50, we kind of get that now. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next one is, of course, Forget. Once per encounter, as a maneuver, your character can deplete this effect to cause any number of NPCs of your choice within short range to forget everything that's happened so far. What? No, we're not your enemies. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yeah.
Oh God! So if somebody did this with a Triumph, I would make them like stand there dazed for a moment, so you could totally set up like pour drinks and everybody all standing around.
That's right. That'd
One guy's
great.
hand on the other guy's butt.
That'd be so awesome.
That would be. Oh, that's funny. That is funny.
And at the GM discretion, a nemesis and other important adversaries can attempt a hard discipline check to resist it.
Yeah, that would be good.
But if it's used outside of structured gameplay, affected characters forget the preceding events up to 1 hour.
Nice.
So
All right. Well, the next one is immunity. As a maneuver, you can deplete the effect to protect yourself from any single environmental hazard that the item was used for, such as like a blizzard, a river of lava, until the end of the encounter. Yeah, I want to go swimming.
Yeah, the floor is lava. No.
That's right.
No, it's not. It's just a pool of warm goop.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's not just yourself. It's all and your allies within medium range.
Oh, I did. I missed that. Those
Ember
words.
honey.
Nice.
Yeah.
Allies within medium range. Sweet.
So when we paraphrase these, we may miss some things. Be sure to read these paragraphs very closely because there are a lot of little nuances to them.
There are. That's right.
Invisibility. As a maneuver, your character may deplete this effect to make themselves completely invisible until the end of the encounter. Note that they can still be detected by means other than sight.
Right? I mean, what's that smell?
Listen, do you smell that?
Tony's. Yeah, listen. Yeah, do you smell that? I think they're coming.
Oh, it's Jamie Pearson. Oh, God.
What's next, Stefan?
The next one is Invulnerability. So once per encounter, as a maneuver, your character can deplete this effect again. Reduce all damage and wounds involuntarily suffered by themselves and engaged allies to 0 until the end of your character's next turn. Like, oh, no, you didn't. You did not just blast me and my friends with that grenade.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yep. Oh, and this next one is light. Here's your ever-burning torch, if you will. As an incidental, you can cause this effect to shed a warm, bright light, illuminating and heating the surroundings up to medium range. And then the effect continues until you do another incidental to stop it. When you design the effect, it says you can choose a particular trigger that causes the effect to glow. Such as, when a Martian comes near me, my this little bag that I'm making glows green. Fuck! There are little Martians coming nearby. Yeah.
Nope,
oh, no.
Clapper.
Oh, shit. Nice. That's great. You or somebody else claps. You might have to...
Next one is Mind of Its Own. This effect is sentient, with a distinct personality and goals all its own. The player and the GM can work together to determine the details. Player, I'm designing it. Just so you know, players, I'm designing it. No, I'm just kidding.
What are you doing, Dave? I wouldn't suggest doing that, Dave.
The motivation tables on pages 47 and 50 of the Genesys core rulebook can be helpful for making this thing.
Random.
It has 3 ranks and a skill relevant to its purpose. If a skill check is required to use this effect, choose that skill. When your character makes a check using the effect, he substitutes its ranks in the relevant skill for their own, and add a boost die if their own ranks are equal or higher. If the effect is a ranged weapon, it also gains Guided 3 item quality.
Nice.
If the effect is a melee weapon and its wielder is staggered, it may attack during their turn with a relevant skill and a characteristic of 0. That's great.
Oh, that is so awesome.
However, if the character uses the effect in a way it doesn't approve of, It may withhold its assistance or even work against the character, adding one or more setback dice or upgrading the difficulty of the check at your GM's whim.
That's awesome.
In addition, the effect has 2 ranks in a single social skill chosen by the GM. Chosen by the GM. AKA, it has a mind of its own after all. It can assist its owner on social checks using this skill. Oh, God, every item I make players will have coercion. And it will just yell at you.
Well, that reminds me of the...
It could have deception and negotiation. So you know whether the fucking thing is telling you, oh yeah, that's worth at least 100 embits.
That is a great one. That effect is... I'm sorry, that is GM gold right there.
Yeah.
If you have a player that wants to use that, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That reminds me of R.A. Salvatore's novel, The Woods Out Back, where the hero inherits that or has to wield a intelligent spear. And at one point, it forces him, no, you have to go into combat to restore my honor. It's just, no, I don't want to.
I used to read the Pathfinder novels, and there's one called The Liar's Blade, and the main character is the sword that the guy carries around.
That's cool.
And the sword has its own agenda. It's the hero. The sword is the hero. Nice. The guy who carries it around is not.
That's good.
He's just incidental. Yeah.
Yes.
He's just my meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the hand that holds it.
Nice.
What's next?
All right. The next one is the one that probably would appropriate for Chris's item, Pocket Dimension.
Sure.
So, as a maneuver, your character can use this effect to open or close a small portal up to around 1 meter across to an extra dimensional space where time doesn't pass. The pocket dimension is stable, and anything placed within it can be retrieved later. It has an encumbrance capacity of 20.
There you go.
Can use a portable hole.
Anyone creates an item with this effect, and I'm just picturing Chris's bag.
Yeah.
All right. So, Chris, you go to create it. You roll the Embercraft check, and you roll 2 threat. As a GM, there's going to be a hand inside the bag that reaches out and
grabs,
inappropriately touches you when you try to grab things in the bag.
That's right. That's awesome.
Or reaches out to touch someone else too.
Oh, that is so awesome.
Oh, God.
Oh, that's great. That's pretty good.
Or has a voice. It's like, oh, this person has something valuable on them. What?
Or it howls and sucks you in.
Oh, there you go.
Army of Darkness.
Or when you, or when you drop something, or when you put something in it, when you close it up, you hear it go, yum, yum, that was good. You know?
Delicious.
Delicious. Huh? Are we talking Mimic here, Tony? Any chance you get, motherfucker?
If it has a mind of its own, it's like, no, I don't like that.
Just you wait. Your Mimic torture is far from over, my friend.
I know. All right, so moving on. All right, so you might need to add Protect to it then. Because as a maneuver, your character can deplete this effect and allow allies who remain within short range to increase their soak and defense values by the character's current soak and defense values until the end of the encounter. That's kind of cool. That's fucking huge, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because if I have big beefy dude that has a soak of 7 or 8, pass it on to somebody else.
Here's your armor spikes. You put this effect on spikes that go on your armor. It's 2 separate effects. So you got your armor effect that you made, then you put spikes. Reactive. When an attack inflicts damage on your character, they may, as an out-of-turn incidental, deplete this effect and inflict double the amount of damage to their attacker.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
That's ablative plating. It's a repulsive force field. Those kinds of things. This is that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Cool. Then we have Regrowth.
Ooh.
Yeah. So once per encounter, as a maneuver, again, deplete the effect and return a character to life. It's alive.
Nice.
The effect heals the character of all wounds and removes all their crits, generally there must be, of course, enough of them to regrow something.
Oh,
We regrew him from one nose hair.
Yes. So regrowth, unfortunately, regrown characters, unfortunately, aren't quite the same as the original. They might be a little off. The character who has been returned to life reduces their highest characteristic by 1.
Oh, yeah. I love this. This is such a callback to the old school D&D, where you have to reduce your con, right, by 1 when you regenerate.
Every time you get a raised dead, reduce your con.
Oh, that is awesome.
And this requires a whopping 4 ember to replenish.
So there's one of those effects that talks about an extra cost beyond the 1 when you deplete it to replenish it. So that's a big one.
That is a big one.
Yeah, you're not resurrected people. Like, you're not handing out reses like candy.
Nope.
That's right.
Pay me the ember first.
Yeah. So then the next one is refreshing. Once per encounter as maneuver or part of an action to use this effect, your character may deplete the effect to heal all strain they or the target of the effect have suffered. If used as a maneuver, you could target a character within short range.
Flask of refreshing.
Yeah. You know it. Frickin' energy drink.
Yep.
There you go.
Relocate. Your character may deplete this effect in order to move himself, any number of allies, and of their choice, within long range, to another, possibly distant location, though not off of the world, the Crucible. During structured gameplay, this effect should take several rounds to resolve, as the character waits for the teleportation ray to charge, or for the giant bats to arrive, or the little old ghost lady on the bicycle to come pedaling out of hell. So on and so forth.
The double-decker bus to arrive.
Oh, there's that too. Yep. Big eagles, right?
Yeah.
Show up. All right.
Stefan?
Then there's Restorative. Again, once per encounter, as a maneuver or part of an action, deplete the effect. To heal all wounds they or the target of the effect have suffered. So if used as a maneuver, this power targets one character within short range.
Nice.
So not quite as costly as regrowth, but still, you're about to die. Well, not yet.
So basically what it's... if I'm noticing here, it's an action to use ones that target yourself, and it's a maneuver to target someone else at short range.
Seems, yeah. The first phrase can be either or, but they specify with the last phrase.
Part of an action.
Yeah.
You would use it. You would use it as a maneuver for somebody else, and you can use it as part of an action.
Got it. Never mind.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. Yeah. Okay. Good call out.
Well,
next, homie.
Resurrect.
Next.
So again, once per encounter, as a maneuver, your character can deplete the effect to return a character who died within the last round to life. Character heals wounds until they are suffering no more wounds than their wound threshold. It does not heal the critical injuries. It does heal. Wait a second. But does not heal any critical injuries except the dead result. Well, that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
This also doesn't undo any other effects of the attacker incident that killed them, like being burned to death. Right?
Yeah, that burn damage will be right
burn
back.
Damage is still going. Yeah, burn. Wow. This this requires 2 ember to replenish. So, like the other one, It's has a cost greater than 1 to replenish.
So this would be like almost. This could almost be used like in the middle of combat. Oh, you just died.
Yeah,
bring it back.
Exactly.
Shatter. As a maneuver, your character may deplete this effect or deplete another effect, or inflict major damage. See the item maintenance on page 89 of Genesys Core Rulebook on a mundane item within medium range. So, yeah, that's pretty nasty.
That is.
It's better than Sunder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go, Seth.
Then the next one, a little bit in the same vein, Smite. So once per encounter, as a maneuver, deplete the effect and defeat all minions and rival adversaries within short range.
What?
Whoa.
That's
So,
wow.
Of course, rivals may attempt an average discipline or resilience check. If they succeed, they are not defeated.
Awesome.
So that would be the big hammer blow that just wipes the screen.
Nice.
The ultimate
cool.
power.
Cool. And then tunnel, which is what we had mentioned, one of the examples using the tunnel effect with the rope.
You skipped 3.
What?
Yeah.
Did I really?
Smite.
Oh, sorry,
Above the image
forgot
there.
to go to the top of the page again.
It was testing
Terrified.
us.
Yeah, I was just testing it. Good call there, Tony. Once per encounter as maneuver, you could deplete this effect to cause all other characters within medium range, including allies, and that's called out in parentheses, which is great, to make a hard fear check. That's awesome. Yeah.
All will worship me and despair.
That's right. And everybody just fucking runs, and you're the only one there. All right.
Next is transmit as a maneuver, as part of an action, or as part of an action.
What kind of disease do you get transmitted?
Well, it's my clapper. Don't shush.
What?
As a maneuver or as part of an action, using this effect, your character may communicate with a particular person or transmit their voice or other message to a specific location at any distance on the Crucible.
Wow. So that's a voice there, Stefan, that's going to be transmitted. Now, maybe if you can add more Ember, you might be able to transmit other things at any distance on a location.
Well, that's it. I thought my version was funnier.
Yeah.
It was.
Then we have transposition. So as part of an action, again, use the effects. Doesn't need to deplete it this time. Your character may spend 2 advantage, though, to move themselves or their target up to 1 range band in any direction that is free of obstruction.
That's kind of cool. You don't have to deplete anything. You just, as part of your... Oh, that's cool.
Part of another action.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You just use those 2 advantage, like, oh, I'm way too close to this giant.
There you go. Nice. All right. So
I want to be in chicken shit range.
That's right. Or I'm going to hit you into chicken shit range with my rubber sword. Right?
Now you can tunnel, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so so we go back in time a little bit. All right, tunnel. Now, this was mentioned earlier when we were talking about the cord or rope. Sorry. As a maneuver or as part of an action, you can deplete this effect to create a temporary passage through almost any solid material except for Ember. Shocker. The passage is 1 meter in diameter, and it can have any length up to the length of the effect's range. So, if the effect does not otherwise have a range, consider it to be short. The passage lasts until the end of the following round, and does no lasting harm to the material. So, yeah, if your rope opens that hole, you better jump in it quick, right? And hopefully you got to the end of it, because bummer. All right,
so
next.
Undetectable. Once per encounter as a maneuver, your character may deplete this effect to make themselves and allies of their choice within short range completely undetectable by natural senses or technology until the end of the following round. Note that mutually undetectable characters find communication quite difficult.
Oh, man.
What are you saying?
What?
Where are you? Is that you? I don't know.
Yep.
Carl!
Well,
That
that's one of those things where, like, if you turn invisible, right? Like one of my characters from a D&D game, he was like some pyromancer or whatever. He was invisible, died, fell into the lava. One of the characters, one of the other characters are like, well, can we grab him? No, he's invisible. You can't grab him. So that's this, in a way.
Almost, yeah.
Pretty much.
Definitely. And finally, on the list of these powers is Vermin Vexation. So in this one, as an action, deplete this effect to make an opposed Embercraft versus resilience check against the target within short range. If you succeed, the target suddenly transforms into a harmless little creature and will remain so until the end of the following round.
Nice.
Watch me pull a rabbit out of my ass. Of course, while transformed, the target is silhouette 0, treats all their characteristics and their soak value as 1. And there's a whole paragraph about the details. But yeah, basically, he's a harmless little wabbit or turtle or whatever.
Nice.
Then you can spend a triumph on their check to extend the transformation for the rest of the encounter.
However,
or the GM can spend despair from a failed check to transform your character instead. Boing! Bounce back.
All right, watch out. Okay, so Daryl, if you're listening to this.
All right,
Wow,
I want to
great.
call an audible here and
Sure.
go back to page 173.
All right.
And that is because it's key to note the sidebar here, creating new powers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Powers in this section, and I'm going to read this because it's very important, I think, to understand it verbatim. The powers in this section offer a range of effect powers, but represent only a fraction of the possibilities. If none of them fit a player's concept, that player should work with their GM to develop a new power using the ones here as a guide. Find the one that's closest to it and mimic it. Mm-hmm. Most powers should require a maneuver or make sense as an additional effect tied to another check as part of an action, so to speak. Some particularly strong powers might require their own action or check to use. And as a limiting factor, the power needs a cost. Generally, this means depleting the effect. However, if a power only functions as part of a check, you might instead spend dice symbols from the check to use the power. In either case, character is giving up a resource to activate the power. With the primary limiting factor on a power, since they are powerful, is frequency. Is the power strong enough for its use to potentially be a turning point in an encounter? If so, it should be limited to once per encounter, or even once per session for particularly potent effects. If it doesn't seem disruptive for a power to be used multiple times in an encounter, consider limiting it to once per round. And I think that's very key.
It is. Yeah, it's good that you went over that.
In some ways, it's like creating new talents. You have to, if it's really powerful, make it have some conditions.
Yeah.
Now, that's only 3 of the steps. There's 6 in this process.
I know. So we have our concept. We have our design. Mm-hmm. We decided whether it's an armor, weapon, or a utility. And we've just selected our powers from that list. Next is what?
Well, next we have to gather the components.
Yeah.
So the ingredients for creating the effect is Ember, of course. But many effects, like I say, require more than just this substance. So they could require, in addition to gathering the effects, the character must collect any number of components, or whatever it is. Especially if it looks like a ray gun, he has to build a housing to put the Ember in, for example. So regardless of the options chosen, though, this is in bold, for the design, that may reduce the Ember needed, or that don't require Ember. Creating an effect requires at least 1 Ember.
Means you'll start with a cost of 1, and then add or subtract Ember based on the qualities or powers you added.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
And if you end up with a cost of 0 or lower, the cost becomes 1 for it to be made. So, cool.
So, and that can be narratively, driven, whether it's downtime or part of a session, mission, whatever.
Yep. And in the last paragraph for this, it's saying, it's basically ultimately up to the GM to decide what components are needed. I mean, if you're doing a strength-enhancing mechanical glove, well, you need the mechanical glove, right, to put it in first. Or make it, or craft it right away.
Well, so you need that badass microphone to...
You know it, dude.
Yeah.
You're going to need a bag.
But regardless...
Bag of holding.
Yeah, so if you have some ideas, discuss with your GM. And if he's not a dick, he'll listen to you. Right?
Well, then I'm not listening.
Well, that's what I said. No. Yeah. So then we got the components. Now what?
Next, you're going to make a skill check.
What skill?
The details decided. The components are gathered. Your character is ready to create their effect. This is not guaranteed, however.
Yep.
They must succeed on a hard Embercraft check to do so. If the effect has more than one power, you increase the difficulty by 1 for each additional power to a maximum of formidable. Your PC has the option of using additional Ember to increase their chances of success, and they may spend 3 extra Ember, up to 3 extra Ember, to reduce the difficulty of the 3 extra Ember to reduce the difficulty of the check by 1, but it cannot be reduced below hard.
Right.
So it starts at 3 dice. Mm-hmm. It can go up to as high as 5 dice with more powers, and it can go back down to 3 dice if you spend 3 or 6 extra Ember in the process.
Yeah, so if you want to put a 4th power on a Ember, on your item, you'll need to spend 3 extra Ember, and it'll still be a formidable check. Right? Yep. So.
Yeah. And you still have to spend all that Ember for each power that you're adding to.
If some of the components are missing, but the most important ones are present, the GM may allow your character to attempt to make the check regardless, adding setback dice to the check. Conversely, if they have the perfectly suitable components or components of superior quality and ease of use, including Ember they personally discovered, they add boost dice to the check.
Nice.
The GM may also be convinced by a certain persuasive player to add boost dice to the check if conditions are suitable, such as if the character forges an Ember axe at the site of a great battle, or conjures up a spell of fear on a dark and stormy night.
Oh, that's cool.
Exceptionally deleterious, that's a word, circumstances may lead to the GM to upgrade the difficulty of the check as well, such as if your character has earlier stated that effects don't really exist, or would use their new powers to attempt to harm the Crucible.
Nice.
If your character succeeds on the check, they create the effect as intended. If the check fails, the required Ember and any Ember spent in the process is gone. It's used up.
What?
You got to start over from scratch. No, you still have your design. You just have to get all the ingredients again and do the check again.
Yes. And by the way, I resemble that remark earlier.
Nice.
Activating a large quantity of Ember is almost certain to produce some sort of result, however. Almost anything can happen, and the result might still be beneficial for your character. Or it could be disastrous, even though it was successful. Work with the GM to determine what happens. Table 4.4, spending advantage, triumph, threat, and despair on Embercraft checks on page 177 might be very helpful here in either offering an applicable result or offering ideas for developing a new one that better fits the situation.
Nice. That's cool. That is pretty cool. Yep. And now we have some finishing touches or touches, right? Yeah. So
appropriate finishing touches.
Appropriate. That's right.
As long as you got consent, it's fine.
That's right. So once you've made the check to create your new effect, then it's time to put the finishing touches on it. So you think about your original concept and the resulting effect. Did anything change during the process? That may have a different narrative explanation. You should also name it. You know, not only is each effect unique and potent and worthy of a name, but it's helpful to have an easy way to refer to it. Weapon effect with the burn 3 item quality and the flare power is a mouthful.
Yeah.
You could call it the Suspenders of Doom.
The glittering suspenders of doom.
There you go. And then the converse of that, if you failed your Embercraft check to create the effect, it can be a chance to explore within a narrative what went wrong. Do you simply need to practice your skills? Is the bag permanently attached to your hip? With the dice bag,
or your hand,
or is it like a pocket? Now do I have like your freaking marsupial? Oh, fuck it!
It's
a freaking.
It's a bag of devouring instead of a bag of holding.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's great.
With a mind of its own.
That's right. Did a rival sabotage you? Was the ritual disrupted by a powerful psychic echo lingering in the area? Wah, wah, wah. Spooky gooky.
Stay tuned next episode to find out.
That is true. And then they go into it. They do have an example on the sidebar here, crafting the effect. But we can let everybody read that themselves.
Right. So there's these 2 cool charts that round out the chapter. The final bits of the chapter. Yeah. Are there any cool results you guys like?
Well, okay. Before we get into that, here's the sidebar I was looking at. So the writing in the what do you call the margin here is pretty cool. Saw a right smug git turn themselves inside out after trying to do a trick with Ember. You gotta respect it, or it will do you in. That's awesome.
Or turn you out in this case.
Or turn you out. That's right.
Oh, his extrails became his entrails. Wait, the other way around.
That's right.
His innie became an outie.
That's right. Well, I must say, one of my favorite of positive effects. My favorite one is another PC for 2 advantage or a triumph. Another PC gains a memory from a nearby piece of Ember. They acquire an invaluable insight into their current situation. That's cool.
Nice.
That's a neat one.
Stephen? I like the despair one. A memory belonging to one member of the party is removed and imprinted on a shard of Ember forever.
Oh. Not the memory.
Remember that?
A memory.
Oh. A memory.
But Daryl.
Remember that night? Yeah, remember that night you spent with that waitress? You thought you'd never forget her? Well, you forgot.
Oh, bummer. Or Daryl rolls double despair. It'd be all the memory. What's that one, Tony?
I like this one. The 2 threat or a single despair. Okay. Normal light becomes very painful for you until the end of the session.
Oh.
A little bit light sensitive, aren't we?
That's great. That is awesome.
Now those are just in Ember crafting checks, but the other chart is anytime Ember is involved in it. Mm-hmm. This is one you'll want to keep, photocopy it or keep handy. If you're going to run Keyforge, always have this one available because anytime Ember is used, here's a handy chart.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's all kinds of effects, such as just for 1 threat, your armor suddenly feels like it's the wrong size. It's a bit tight around the chest.
That's right.
Yeah, there's some really good ones in there.
What do you like, Tony?
I like the 1 triumph. You glow with righteousness. Increase your presence by 1 for the remainder of the session.
Yeah, there we go. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, this one's kind of interesting here. What one was it? There's one I think where you. Nope, I think it was on the other list.
Oh.
No, this one here. This is they actually have. Okay, I'm reading this word for word. For 1 threat or despair, one of your effects has gone wonky. Yes. They have wonky written in here. You suffer 1 strain whenever you use it during the encounter.
That's awesome.
Kind of cool. Yeah, the one on the other table was pretty interesting, to be honest. It's for the Triumph, when you do an Embercraft, you immediately gain +1 rank in the Embercraft for the rest of the session. Should you later consume an amount of Ember equal to twice the new rank before the session ends, the increase is permanent. That awesome? So
that is
all right,
awesome.
So my
Give me
rank
some
just
Ember.
went up
Give me
to
some
4.
Ember.
I need to just eat the rest of my Ember. Fuck this.
That guy's holding some Ember. Give me.
Right. That's awesome.
Well, the last part here I added to our show notes. I kind of wanted to discuss, because we had some listeners that were wanting to know ways to incorporate Ember in other settings, other conversions, so to speak, particularly superheroes. And I had a couple of examples that I put down, and they're from my readings. For instance, good example is our last live or actual play that we did, Beyond Good and Evil. There's a substance called Divalite that people use to craft super science machines, and you could totally, in that setting, have a Divalite crafting skill and use it like Ember crafting. It would work essentially the same way. Another thing I'm doing is I'm currently listening to all the audiobooks of the Stormlight archives by Brandon Sanderson. And they consume Stormlight to use powers. And so in order to, they have to consume Stormlight to use their powers. Every single one of the people that has these awesome powers, and each group of people have different types of powers, but they have to consume the Stormlight. Well, you could have Stormlight act like Ember, craft a list of talents that are available for and you could do them in trees for the various types of surge binders in that setting. If you're familiar with it, these people basically, they have a power and they're called surge binders, and they have different surges that they can do. They're all just different powers.
Cool.
And they all belong to different orders. So you could set up all the orders and have Stormlight be the Ember cost for those talents. And that you could consume and deplete your Stormlight accordingly, just like Ember.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then
maybe Quintessence and other games.
Aether.
Yeah.
If you wanted to mimic a Magic the Gathering type setting, you could have it be mana.
Mana, right? Yeah.
Mana, yeah. Just mentioned Quintessence. Sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. For superheroes, you would want to do this at character creation, and instead of doing skill checks, I think giving players an amount of Ember to buy their powers, and then buy the powers from the books and have them activated certain ways, and they can reduce the cost of a power by making it limited and putting those limitations on them.
Yep.
You could call those, if you're doing like a mutants setting, you could call those X genes.
Oh, there you go.
If you're doing a TMNT setting, you could call that bioenergy, from like the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, remember that.
If you're doing like a cosmic supers, you could call it dark matter.
Oh, yeah. Great TV show, by the way.
Yeah. There's a ton of different ways you could reskin this. The key is that if you're doing like a superpowers type thing, you'll want to do it at character creation, and if you want them to be able to develop their powers over time, maybe they don't, once they've purchased their beginning powers, they can gain more of that substance later and then make checks during play to create more powers that they can use.
Oh, yeah.
As long as they're themed towards their original theme. You know, Spider-Man has spider-related powers. He doesn't have the ability to shoot lasers out of his butt. So,
right.
You know, keep your hero theme, work with your players, and craft a superhero.
Yeah, and you can do something like if your superhero has like an attack power, right? Mm-hmm. You can add, say, you can kind of do something kind of what they did in Realms of Tyrnoth, where at every 50 earned experience points, you get this, X gene that you can spend, right? And maybe you want to put it into increasing your soak by 1, or
you could do it.
Or
you could do it incrementally like that.
Yeah, something along those lines.
50 earned XP or 25 earned XP. They get so many X genes they can put towards their powers.
Yeah,
increasing existing powers or making new ones.
Right. Cool.
Stefan, you got any thoughts on the subject? I probably drowned you out enough.
No, you covered pretty much, I think, everything. Didn't think of anything else, but it does maybe help our listeners, maybe apply this particular concept of Ember to any other settings, adding to the Genesys toolbox.
Yeah. Cool. Maybe that hydrogen 3 or whatever it's called in Shadows of the Beanstalk may take on this kind of helium. Oh, helium 3. Yeah, would take on this kind of usage potentially. It's not only is it used for power, which is in the setting, but maybe a whole adventure or campaign can be built up around somebody finding other ways to use this helium 3, like Ember, right? To build stuff with it or whatever.
But if you're going to do it in a dystopian setting like that, you want it to have really dark overtones. So you'll want to have the costs be high.
Maybe not everyone has that. It's a limited resource too, and highly sought after.
Oh yeah, or that knowledge to do it, so to speak. Yeah. Cool. Well then, I think that wraps up our our books of Genesis this time. Hey Tony, I think I hear something in the lab over there. Shall we go see what's on the slab?
Well, you didn't clean it from last time, did you?
No,
well,
of course not.
Maybe we should create an item for that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's
cleansing
an effect. Cleansing. All right.
Cleansing power.
All right, let's go.
All right, in this segment of the show, Tony chooses an adversary from one of the books, and we dissect it bit by bit. What's on the slab today, Tony?
Well, I actually have 2 creatures on the slab, as they are very similar in that they are the only 2 creatures in the Keyforge book that I found. Maybe I overlooked one, but I looked very long time. They're the only 2 with an Ember Crafting skill rating.
Oh, nice.
And that is the Witch of the Eye on page 215 and the Witch of the Wilds on page 240. Now, the key thing to note is that they are both nemesis. And they have some effects on their characters and in their entries, and those aren't as important as what I wanted to get at if you wanted to use Ember Crafting in other settings when theming an Ember Crafter. These are the ones you would take as your template. Both of them they're definitely a stronger social character, both of them with ratings of 6 and 7 in the social. One is a little bit more martially inclined, with that be the Witch of the Eye, with a martial rating of 5, whereas the Witch of the Wilds has a martial rating of 2. And then the overall 6 and 3, respectively. So the key is that they're more social, which means they're going to have a higher strain threshold than wound threshold. They also are going to have, as nemesis, they're going to have 3s and 4s in a lot of their stats. And they do. They have 3s and 4s in a lot of their stats, and those stats are willpower and presence for the 4s for the Witch of the Eye, and agility and intellect for the Witch of the Wilds. The key thing to take away, like I said, is that they have the Ember Crafting skill, and they have some effects built into their stat block. So if you were to, say, in Terranoth, and you wanted to use something similar to be a creator of runes in Terranoth, a rune master, so to speak, you would create a nemesis following these templates, particularly, probably like the Witch of the Wilds here, because it's intellect based.
Yeah.
And you're going to craft a few effects that they can do, and those are runes that they've created that have their own special effect. And it's totally doable for Terranoth. It's totally doable for other settings. It's particularly Shadow of the Beanstalk. Chris, you mentioned Helium-3, but another thing that Shadow of the Beanstalk doesn't really get deep into is nanotechnology. And you could make a nanomancer who uses nanobots to do these effects.
Oh, that's cool.
You don't want anything outlandish like translocation, but the bright flash of a flare or the invisibility, that's just bending light.
Healing
nanobots.
Yourself?
Healing yourself. Nanobots could do all of that in a Shadow of the Beanstalk. This is somebody who's on the cutting edge of technology and a great nemesis to put your players up against.
Yep.
In any other setting, that person would be a mad scientist in steampunk or a Weird Wars setting.
Yep.
You could totally have them using whatever plot material, whether it's the black goo from Overlord, or it's
the blood of the Midgard serpent from, if you want to run like a Day After Ragnarok and convert that to Genesis. Yeah.
Or if you're running Genesis themed Deadlands.
Yep.
Here's
what is that
Ghost
called?
Rock.
Ghost Rock. That's what that's called.
Yeah. So
cool.
You create that again. It's not a 1-for-1 like my other On the Slab entries where I do a lot of, take this ability, change it out. It's more of a get a feel for it. You can keep a lot of the same skills, you can keep the adversary talents, but you're definitely going to want to change those effects, because the ones themed for the witches are definitely witchy.
Yeah. But these are good starts for this. That's cool. Yeah.
And then the last one, I'm going to be doing one for our Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse called a Quantum Architect.
Oh, cool.
That will be based, and all it does is take bits of quantum technology, and this will be a nemesis that just uses quantum technology to create weird effects.
Nice.
And he'll have a few effects that he can do, and it'll be just a reskinning of probably, I'm looking at most likely to be the Witch of the Wilds. It'll be a reskinning of her.
Yeah, he's using cutting edge, not just science, but mathematics equations that he's figured out that bend space and time, and
Oh yeah,
that's right.
So
nice.
In his case, instead of the Wall of Thorns ability, it would be a quantum barrier.
Yep.
That when you touch it, you're shifted in reality, slightly decentered from your person. So if you touch it, instead of doing damage to you with thorns, it's going to do damage to you by tearing apart your atoms and moving pieces of them somewhere else.
That's it. Molecules are being shifted around.
Weight of the Forest is the effect on the Witch of the Wilds is nothing more than a disorienting effect. It's the flare, essentially. Reskinned, this quantum architect could have a flash of quantum energy that disconnects your synapses for just a second and disorients you.
Overloads your senses, yeah.
Yeah. So
very nice.
Overall, It's a concept in the making, and I challenge you, our listeners.
Yeah.
Tell me how you would reskin the Witch of the Eye or the Witch of the Wilds for your setting. And send us an email at findingthenarrative@gmail.com.
Gauntlet thrown.
So that is my slab today.
Excellent.
Welcome to Advantageous Threats. This is where we build, roll, narrate dice results, and some sample skill checks for our entertainment and hopefully for yours.
That's right. Hopefully.
So in this particular one, I've spooled up for these guys. I did it just to make Stefan grin ear to ear, and I'm proud to say he is.
Yeah.
I will be GMing Chris and Stefan as they are playing the members of the Golden Shard Adventuring Company. So the Golden Shard Adventuring Company is at it again. After finally getting their hands on an unhealthy amount of Fey Crystal in the ruins of Tor Anesh, Gustav and Xandra are trapped by the still formidable remnants of the city's Shadeforged Legion. Say it again, Tony. Shadeforged Legion. Low on ammo and pushed to their limits, shooting their way out seems like suicide, much to Xandra's chagrin.
Yeah, if anybody don't remember, this is from Primordial Machina. So, setting Tony and I had worked on.
And these are my pre-gens for my Out of Calder into the Fire.
Yes.
Adventure that I wrote.
Yep.
So together they must quickly assemble and activate a Fey Crystal device using a skill that already exists in our system to save their skins. Gustav will have a short amount of time to craft an artifice magic device that will confound, eliminate, or evade the vanguard of the Shadeforged Legion. Meanwhile, a short distance away, Xandra uses every trick in her considerable repertoire and the last of her ammo reserves to distract or destroy the leading ranks of the enemy specters.
That's right.
So you guys are, the way I described this to you too earlier, but for our listeners, there's this vast labyrinth underground. And this is under a ruined city called Tor Anesh, one of the cities of the Elder Fae. And here, the chunks of Fey Crystal were found in the central chamber, which has multiple entrances from the labyrinth. This is where the two of you have found it. Now, you were harried and chased here by a bunch of shades. Shades dressed in shadowy armor, wielding shadowy swords that hurt a lot. You are each down to a small amount of wounds and strain.
Okay.
And so we will begin. This is an unstructured encounter because you cannot use crafting in a structured encounter. So I've got kind of a skill challenge, but what it is 2 rounds of skill checks. So you'll each make 2 skill checks. And the number of successes accumulated on these checks will determine your outcome of the unstructured encounter and set up the next structured encounter for you guys.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, so basically we've gathered some of this Fey Crystal already. We're in a chamber forward, and we need to GTFO. But we got a vanguard, legion of these things coming after us. So fighting our way out is not possible. So
there's a whole legion out there. There's a vanguard of them is in the labyrinth and chasing you down.
All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get all of this shit. I'm gonna put it together. You keep them out of there, and then I just point at the exits. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab and then he just starts grabbing shit. I'm gonna grab this, and he's just talking himself through it. So
hurry up, darling, or else I will light a fire under you.
Oh, shut up! I'm trying to get it going. All right. So basically, first thing I do, he's gonna try and find like a fucking metal bowl or something to just put a bunch of fey crystal in.
So there's all kinds of coppery parts and things just laying around this chamber.
Steampunkish, man. He's got his toolkit out. He's got his fist, right? He's just grabbing stuff, and then when he needs to, he'll just like clamp shit together. And basically, I'm thinking there's a power device. My concept for this device is now, right? So step one. Concept. It's going to be a relocation device. Basically, I want to zap us to our ship.
Okay.
And out of here.
Where the rest of the Golden Shard Company awaits you.
Correct. They're on their way out. So basically that's what I want to do. And I got all this shit in here to do it with. So that's my concept.
I told you we should not have turned left at that last intersection.
Well, it's at Albuquerque. We should have gone. We went to Albuquerque. It's fine. Right?
All right, so you're going to be making a hard mechanics check to build something quickly.
And this is going to be utility. It's not an armor, not a weapon. It's just a utility. Okay, the power I've already selected.
First, you're going to be making a mechanics check to build the device. Because you have the components, but I want you to actually make a mechanics check to assemble them.
That's right. Yeah, so my power that I've already selected, I'm going to do the relocation power. And then, so now I'm gathering components. All right. I've got a mechanics skill of, he's got an intelligence of 4 and 2 ranks in mechanics. Got my toolkit with me. I think he's got a toolkit, so that gives me a boost die, right? On mechanics checks. All right. I'm guessing the material in here isn't superior. Probably the opposite.
It is antiquated material. Antiquated. So it's going to provide a single setback die due to antiquated materials that you're not familiar with. And I'm going to provide a setback die because you have this angry, flamey woman running around insulting you while you're doing it.
All right. Well,
I'm encouraging him. I'm motivating him.
Well, all right. So I've got the knack for it. So I'm used to the yapping. Right, from her, so that's not a problem. And I've worked with shitty equipment too before, so I'm used to this. So those get removed because he's got the knack for it when he does mechanics. And you said it's going to be a hard check, Tony?
It is.
Okay, hard check here. All right. Do you want to do anything to this pool?
Oh, it is your pool to affect first, my good sir.
I'm going to say yes because... gonna make an antiquated teleportation device with this fucking steampunk equipment. Yes.
However, so you flipped one.
I did.
And as your GM, I would be remiss if you were making a fey crystal crafting check and didn't have red dice in there, because there's always the chance to deplete all the fey crystal.
Well, this is my mechanics check. This isn't the artifice check yet, right?
Correct. Oh, yeah.
I'm doing it in a hurry.
Yeah.
He's still doing it in a hurry.
Well, you don't know what's all down here.
Right.
You don't know what all's in this pile of stuff.
This metal might react with the fey crystal. Maybe.
So I'm going to flip story point.
Gotcha.
So one of those 3 dice will be red.
So I have 3 yellow, a green, a blue, a red, and 2 purple. Here we go. Rolling. And...
despair.
No.
That's not Daryl.
No, come on, we're not talking Daryl. So I'm left with a success and an advantage.
That's 1.
Yep.
Okay, well, how would you like to spend your advantage?
All right. As I'm grabbing a a big metal bowl to put this in, I see some enemies coming in the door behind me through its reflection. And I'm like, oh shit, they're coming in over here. You go get over here. So I'll pass a boost die to Zszree on her check.
All right.
All right.
Don't even have to ask for one. There's one right there.
Oh, you can always ask.
All right, lady. How are you going to distract/destroy said specters?
Yes. All right. So while you're busy doing that, make sure we get out of this alive. I'm much too beautiful to have my flame snuffed out so young.
All right. That's the plan. Yeah, that's the plan.
I am going to be using, Zszree will be using Deception. By combining a little bit of fancy gunplay. We're in a lab. There's probably pipes and tubings and all kinds of stuff. Maybe certain things will create smoke screens or things that would confound and confuse the enemy.
Nice.
So,
okay, deception it is. We're going to call this
cunning.
Yes, and deception is an opposed check. It is normally opposed by the opponent's vigilance, which in this case, the Shade minion on page 229 of the Terranoth, Realms of Terranoth book is what I'm using. They have what skill is vigilance based on? That's based on willpower, correct?
Yep.
So they have 3 in willpower.
Okay, that's it. 1, 2, 3 purple.
So it's going to be hard.
All right. All right, then. So I've got boost die from my friend Gustav. All right, so I know this is important. Zszree definitely wants him to succeed. Going to flip a story point as well to upgrade one of the dice to another yellow. So I've got 3 yellow, 3 purple, and a blue. Are you happy with that, sir?
These things are kind of otherworldly and not really easily distracted. They go after living flesh, and that's all they go after. They don't care about pipes and distractions and shit. So I'm going to flip the story point back the other direction and give you one of those as a red.
All right. So let's do the roll. Go. Ooh, okay, good. 1 success and 2 advantage.
1 success, 2 advantage. Nice. So you're like guiding them out of the room, and the ones that came in that door, they see you, and they just completely ignore Gustav as you distract them with gunfire and run them off into the labyrinth and lead them down a wild goose chase. That's your success. What would you like to do with your advantage?
With 2 advantage, I'll pass 1 along to Gustav, and have maybe one of the advantage as a setback to the legions or one of the shades, at least one of the groups, minion groups, to try and find me or whatever their action will be. To I've confounded them so much. Well, it is really a maze with hitting valves as I go along. Steam is being poured out.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well done.
Oh yes, they're being confounded, and since this is an unstructured thing, they're more of a narrative tool of mine. Okay. So they're there's no check for them to make, but what I can do is since you're gonna go, if you want to go first in kind of the next round, you could add a boost die to yourself to your next distractive action.
Sure.
If you'd like.
I'll do that, and maybe while they're distracted, take a few of them down.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Getting ready here. You're gonna need to come in and get. You're gonna definitely be in the room with me.
All right.
So wherever the hell you went, you better make your way back here quick. I'm almost ready.
All right.
That sounds like you want to sneak away from them, doesn't it?
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
I think a stealth check. Yeah.
All right. That sounds good.
Now, you're in a labyrinth, so you don't have to ask.
All right.
It's pretty easy to stealth in a labyrinth. Go ahead and give yourself a boost die.
All right, then. So I've got 2 boost dice.
Correct.
As
it is going to be opposed by their vigilance, which is, again, a hard difficulty.
All right, so we do have 1 story point on our side, at least.
There are 2, actually.
2, all right. So I'll flip 1 because it's important again. So there we go.
Oh, yeah.
I will not be flipping.
Okay, and you said how many dice is my opposed?
3. It's a hard.
3. Okay, I checked. All right, there we go. All right then. So, and you're not flipping. There's no other setback or anything like that. So let's go. And I got a failure, but 5 advantage. Oof. So unfortunately,
that advantage so far for you guys has been 7. That's pretty good.
Well, not bad.
Unfortunately, I don't sneak. They managed to see me with my flaming hair leading them where I'm at. They know where I am at. But
it's like you're a beacon.
Yeah,
that's right.
But since I am such a beacon, that allows, of course, Gustav to have all these boost dice to help him out to focus on his ability.
Like I see.
How about we grant him with I think with that many advantage, you could probably grant him a free upgrade. As they're greatly distracted by the flaming woman running through the tunnel.
That's it.
Nice.
Insulting them. Ha! You think you're so fast, you cannot catch me. I am a firefly.
Oh, and she's coming right at me. All right. I got to maneuver it so I can see you. Shit, I see you. Here you come. I know where you're coming now.
And you just see this roiling mass of shadow moving behind her in the tunnel as she's running towards you.
Oh, you know something? You might have pulled... Oh, crap! I dropped it! Oh, shit! Oh, no! All right. So, Embercraft check time. Okay, so what I've decided is I'm actually going to put 2 powers on this. And I'm going to pour 5 or 4
Fey crystal
encumbrance worth of Fey crystal. Okay.
So that means you will have a remaining 9 encumbrance worth of Fey crystal to pilfer from this place.
Excellent. Yeah, so it'll still keep my check a hard one. Okay. The second power I'm going to add, so the first one is going to be relocation. I'll go over that with everybody. That'll be where I can relocate, I can deplete the effect, remove myself and any number of allies within long range to another possibly distant location. I'm going to use transmit. So as part of an action or maneuver, you could communicate with a particular person or transmit your voice. The captain. We're incoming, captain. You get ready. I don't know where on the ship, but I do have this piece of the you said you.
Well, you got to craft it first.
Yeah, I got to craft it first. No, I was going through a little bit there, Tony. A little bit of role playing, motherfucker. Yeah, I you know the piece of the steering wheel you were looking for, that really nice looking the wood? Yeah, I got a piece of it here. I got to use it. I got to hone in on where we're going. So we're going to be like right by the helm, hopefully. So I have a piece of wood, like a handle that I broke off of the wheel, right? That I'm going to put into this. So how many boost dice? Oh, no, that was an automatic upgrade. Do I get a boost die for the component that I'm using, that component? Or is that maybe... Would that be the...
No, that's fine. I'll give you a boost die for that, sure.
All right. And then I am going to spend a story point because Artificer and Fey Crystal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is going to be a daunting artifice check.
No, it's going to be hard because I spent extra. I spent the 3 extra
to reduce it down to hard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Excellent.
And I'm guessing...
All right, so right now all the story points are on the GM side.
Yep.
I'm going to flip one. Because
technically not right now, because I just spent one, and I don't go to your side until after the check.
Right. I'm going to go ahead and spend one back.
I know there are listeners out there going, no, he's wrong, call him on it, Chris. All right, I just did it for all of you out there. For the 2 of you out there that caught that. No. All right, you're going to got it.
There will be ending up with one player and 2 GM story points when it's all said and done. But yeah, you're going to have one of those dice be red.
Okay, so I have 4 yellow, a green, 2 boost dice, a challenge die, and 2 difficulty dice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see here.
Go ahead. Come on. You can do it.
All righty. Well, we are
Zszree believes you, my darling.
successful. Oh, this is perfect. Okay, so we are successful. I have 2 successes, 2 advantage, and Gustav has a special ability here, which after making a mechanics or artifice check, you can suffer 1 strain and convert a success to an advantage. So I just need a simple success. But I do have 3 advantage. And what I would like to do is use that special thing that I picked off the chart, spend 2 advantage on this check to say another PC gains a memory from a nearby piece of Fey crystal, and they acquire an invaluable insight into their current situation. And yes, that would be Zszree gets that. And of course, I'm going to use
barreling towards you like a comet.
So I'm going to spend the 1 advantage to say that my clothes, I used to be like all like greased up and stuff. I'm like pristine, and it's immaculate. I'm like clean.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Okay. So
leaving the grime behind.
Yeah.
You place these crystals into the center of your device that you've made. Mm-hmm. You crank it up. Mm-hmm. It starts to whir. All of a sudden, the crystals evaporate, sending out this bubble out to surround you. And a tether reaches away from that bubble and pulls Zszree right into the bubble. And when that tether grabs a hold of her around the waist, Zszree kind of falls back in this trance-like state. And she'll get this memory that I'll give you in a moment. But the bubble has pulled you there, and all you now require is a maneuver to activate this device. Pull the last lever, and you will you have to spend 2 maneuvers. Sorry.
Yep.
1 to send your transmission, and then the other to
as part of an action, right? I think, right? Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Right. So you could do an action.
Yeah. So I'll do a maneuver to say, incoming, Captain. I think we're going to be on the bridge. I hope, but we'll see. And then an action to activate it.
As long as I'm not on the poop deck.
I can't. I really can't guarantee anything here.
As she's firing wildly behind her, just bang, 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 emptying her guns.
That's right.
Being pulled into that bubble.
That's right. Pull the lever.
Okay.
Throw the lever, conk.
You pull the lever. You translocate.
Yeah.
You are on the deck of the Aether Spider, your ship. Yeah. And the captain is standing there looking at you incredulously as the 2 of you are there, and all that Fey crystal is just sticking out of your packs and pockets.
That's right.
And Zszree is just like floating in midair, and she's got shadowy tendrils coming out of her eyes. And
I didn't mean to do
just
that.
Tumble from her. The gun just tumbled from her fingers.
I didn't mean that.
And Zszree, you have a memory of from the days back, way back in time, when the Fey god Shadesmar, the lord of this land, was crafting his Shadowforged Legion, and you learned the secret of their creation.
I know everything. I see shade people.
Awesome.
And he had to make these shades that protected that were his army. He actually took the souls of slaves and sucked them out of living slaves and then bound them to his will for all eternity.
Oh.
It's horrible necromantic magic and something that was forgotten for ages. but it's something you might be able to sell on the black market.
Well, for now, once that memory is like part of her now, like, let's say the effect ends, he falls to the deck hard, her hair barely flaming, just low embers, as she's just trying to deal with this horrific memory. She's like into a little ball as she tries to process this for a while.
I didn't mean that. Oh no, did I break her? She doesn't have the wispies anymore.
The ship's engines fire up as the captain's yelling commands to the crew, and you look down below, and just a swarm of shadows is pouring out of the city, rolling over the hills, trying to follow you.
Nice.
And that's Advantageous Threats.
There we go.
Awesome, dude. That was great.
Awesome.
That was nice. All right, everybody. Well, that's our show for tonight, whenever you guys are listening to this. Our next show, we're going to be paying our tab. It's going to be our reskinning of the obligation mechanic from Star Wars, Edge of the Empire, for our Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse setting. So we're going to be going over that next time. Yeah. So, do we have any feedback you want to talk to there, Stefan or Tony?
Yes, we do have a bit of feedback recently we've gotten from our friend John Marlin. So he goes, Tony, Chris, and Stefan. So I'm still playing catch-up on listening to your podcast. He's on 35 now. You guys are so much fun to listen to. Sometimes I have to remind myself that we don't actually know each other and haven't been friends for years.
Wow, what a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
You just connect with me.
You're our friend.
Yeah. You just connect with me in a way that I can't fully put into words. In brackets, and no, Stefan, not like that.
Oh, that's great. Wow. Yep, you're our friend.
It's as if I have a reputation or something.
What? No.
That's okay, John. I can take it as just platonic. He goes on, I don't get to RPG as much as I'd like. Join the club. So I enjoy playing vicariously through your setting discussions and, of course, my favorite part of the show and yours, Advantageous Threats.
Awesome.
So currently, my son Noah and I are playing through a super setting I created where
Noah,
I am basically...
if you're listening to this, probably not. Depending on how old Noah is, you don't want him to listen to this, which he probably knows. Oops.
Depending on his age.
Yeah.
So a setting he created where I'm basically having him help me playtest some special abilities and an in-depth random power generation system I created from scratch. Because, as he says, I like doing things the hard way.
That's great. Not like that, Stefan. No, sorry.
No, not like that either. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So,
whatever, dude.
So, if it ends up playing out decently, I may try sharing it with you guys. Well, let Chris know. It might be part of his 50 pieces of awesome. You never know.
Oh, absolutely. Even if it doesn't play out decently, share it with us anyways.
Exactly.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Yep. So tonight after playing, we were just talking random setting and world creation stuff and came up with a crazy idea. What if we were able to get a group together to play Risk Legacy? So then after it was finished, essentially use that as our setting for those same players to roleplay in. So the game already gives faction names and some faction additions and twists, those spoilers for those who haven't played.
Have not.
So that would be fun and not hard to stat out and flesh out. And the players would have a direct hand in the world building and creation process of the setting that they later play in as characters. And what would likely be a pretty crazy post-apocalyptic blast. Post-apocalyptic blast. It would require a pretty long-term commitment. But for those willing and able, we think the payoff would be huge. So what do you guys think? Great idea? Or are we crazy? Or both? if you've played before, do you have any ideas or thoughts about making it work? He closes by saying, anyway, if you talk about it on the show, which would be awesome, we're already talking about it right there. I may not hear it right away since I'm still catching up, but keep up the great work, guys. It's always exciting to hear where you go next, and I'm stoked for the future of Genesys with Edge Studio and everything to come. Still rolling bones and following the rule of cool. John Marlin, a.k.a. DJ Double Fudge Brownie, Supreme GM.
Oh, yeah, Double Fudge Brownie is very good.
Yes, thank you for that awesome letter, John.
Yeah, thanks for the kind words, too. And yes, you are both. It's a crazy, great idea, by the way.
Yeah.
I think.
I like it.
Yeah.
I've never played Risk Legacy. Have you, Chris?
I have not, but I have done the Pandemic Legacy Season 1, and if it's anything like that, it really sets up the board to kind of... There's a nice little like story, and it gets the world in a state, right? And if it's anything like that, that's a very witty idea to use as a setting launch point. You know what I mean?
I mean, honest, anything that gives you creative juices and gets that flowing between players and GM to build your campaign world, I mean, be it. If it works for you guys, man, that's awesome.
I think so too.
Everyone would have a base knowledge of the game world itself, and then they can just delve into the more personal character interactions instead of controlling armies across the board.
Yep, and then you said that there's faction names and additions and twists in there. I mean, you could pull the mechanic, like the favor mechanic from Shadow of the Beanstalk, right? Where you can get favors from different factions. What are some of the other things that we've used factions for? I think there's something in Crucible here, right? For factions, there might be some talents related to them when you're interacting with a certain faction.
Related talents.
When you're interacting with a certain faction, you get bonuses and such. So, you get a lot of that stuff. So, what I would suggest is to mine what's already has been created, right? For like these talents we're talking about, and then see where the holes are in what you want, for the setting first. What do you guys think?
Right on. Oh, no, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. And, if he's getting to this point and if he's already sent, and by the time he gets here, if he's already sent us that random supers generation table, he may have to go back to the drawing board, finding out about Ember Crafting and using that for supers.
Yeah.
Power generation.
Absolutely. To dovetail on that, Tony, in Savage Worlds, there's a setting. Oh, I think it's Necessary Evil. They have a bunch of supers powers, right? And there are costs and minuses and pluses with those. That, I mean, you could pick up that PDF and use that as kind of maybe a basis for things. And then with this, what we have in what we went over here, the powers and the Keyforge setting here. Between those two, you should be able to flush out all your superpower ability you could possibly need.
Because some of these powers as well can be reflected as talents. Even there's a few in Keyforge, like telekinesis.
Yeah.
There could be a few others that could simply be a specific talent.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
Sounds cool.
Excellent.
Well, thank you for writing us, John. And anyone else who'd like to write us, it's findingthenarrativepodcast@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. You can get a hold of myself and Stefan on Facebook, Finding the Narrative. All three of us on Mayway still at Finding the Narrative. Stefan alone, if you want some alone time with him, over at FTN_Genesys on Twitter. And recommend us to others at Finding the Narrative Podcast on Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, and more.
Yes, please do boost our signal.
Yeah. So we could boost.
So, and so this is Tony saying, let's all tell a good story and spend a story point.
Yep. And this is Stefan saying, dare to ask for those boost dice.
Yep. And then remember the rule of cool, especially if you're with Zszree and with her flaming hair, and dodge her bullets, but just have fun doing it.
Good night, everyone.
Zszree, you're here.
She's out of her ball.
There she is. All right, night, everybody. Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast, is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast. Copyright 2020, all rights reserved.